Welcome to this online service of Neshoba Unitarian Universalist Church in Cordova, Tennessee. I am the Reverend Beth Lefever, and I am pleased and privileged to serve as the minister of this wonderful and unique congregation, and I'm so very glad that you have chosen to join with us this morning. Our opening words are by the late author and activist Helen Keller. No pessimist ever discovered the secret of the stars, or sailed to an uncharted land, or opened a new doorway for the human spirit. In a spirit of optimism, then, let us be together in worship. And now Alexander Osborne will light our chalice.
We ignite this chalice to help bring light into the darkness, so that we may better see the way towards gratitude, service, and love. Please join me in reciting our affirmation of covenant. Love is a doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve human need, to the end that all souls shall go into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God.
Thanks for Thanksgiving by Julie Marks, illustrated by Doris Barrett. Thanks for Thanksgiving, for turkey and pie. Thank you for fall and gold leaves floating by. Thank you for school. I love to feel smart. Thank you for music and dancing and art. Thank you for playdates, for swings, and for slides. Thank you for hopscotch and piggyback rides. Thanks for sweet puppies and soft furry cats. Thank you for dress up, red shoes, and big hats. Thanks for umbrellas, for rain boots and puddles. Thank you for mommy and warm, cozy cuddles. Thank you for daddy and rides on a sled. Thank you for kisses and tucks into bed. Thank you for the moon and the stars up above. But most of all, thanks for the family I love. The end.
Bruce Findlow, in a beloved hymn, wrote, "For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good, to build the common good and make our own days glad." Now is the time for our morning offering. Please give as you are able, as you are called, to help us build the common good. We are especially grateful. My first reading this morning is by an unknown author, although it came from a service by the Reverend Kevin Tarsa. There once was a woman who woke up one morning, looked in the mirror, and noticed she had only 3 hairs on her head. "Well," she said, "I think I'll braid my hair today." So she did, and she had a wonderful day. The next day, she woke up, looked in the mirror, and saw she only had 2 hairs on her head. She said, "I think I'll part my hair down the middle today." So she did, and she had a great day. The next day, she woke up, looked in the mirror, and noticed that she only had 1 hair on her head. "Well," she said, "today I think I'm going to wear my hair in a ponytail." So she did, and she had a fun day. The next day, she woke up, looked in the mirror, and noticed that there wasn't a single hair on her head. "Yay," she exclaimed, "I don't have to fix my hair today." And my second reading is by Helen Keller. I am not a perfect being. I have more faults than I know what to do with. I have a naughty temper. I am stubborn, impatient of hindrances and of stupidity. I have not, in the truest sense, a Christian spirit. I am naturally a fighter. I am lazy. I put off till tomorrow what I might better do today. I do not feel that I have been compensated for the 2 senses that I lack. I have worked hard for all the senses I have got, and always I beg for more. I use these 2 readings this morning to demonstrate the complexities of gratitude and thanksgiving, the difficulties of being grateful, even when all things are not as we would like. The first reading is humorous, of course, highlighting how we can find joy even in unhappy circumstances, that our attitude is key to our gratitude. The second shows that even the most accomplished of us sometimes have moments of regret and resentment rather than gratitude. I chose Helen Keller as a subject for this homily because her life has long held me in awe, and because in researching today's topic, quotes by Helen Keller kept appearing. Helen Keller, 1880 to 1968, whose life was made famous in the film and the play The Miracle Worker, was stricken blind and deaf at the age of 1.5 years after suffering an illness, likely scarlet fever. I remember seeing The Miracle Worker when I was quite young and being horribly fascinated by the thought of losing not one, but both of our major senses, not only not being able to see the world around us, but also not being able to hear it, to be locked in an utterly black tomb of absolute silence. A typically healthy child who had never been exposed to differently abled people, I tried to imagine which would be worse, to be unable to see or unable to hear. And then I tried to imagine being both unable to hear and see, and I was, again, the best word to describe it is horrified. I also was enthralled when her teacher, the partially sighted Anne Sullivan, finally made words come alive for Keller. That one astounding moment when pumping cold water into one of Helen's hands while feverishly finger-spelling the word water, W-A-T-E-R, into her other hand, and how that opened the whole world for young Helen. I was partially so very taken with that moment because I remembered still, and do yet today, my own amazement at suddenly getting the concept that letters made words, which exploded into sentences, stories, and ultimately the whole basis of life, at least to my 5-year-old mind. I remember how that all came together for me quite suddenly and joyfully, and how it literally opened up the world for me. And I try to imagine how amazed and affected Helen Keller must have been to have the world opened up to she who could not hear or see, how much more essential and amazing it must have been for her. Helen, with Anne always at her side, learned to communicate and even to talk. She learned to read and became the first blind and deaf person to earn a Bachelor of Arts degree, graduating from Radcliffe in 1904. She went on to become a prolific writer, lecturer, and activist in the fight for women's suffrage, civil rights, and the rights for the handicapped, as well as becoming involved with the Socialist Party of America and the industrial workers of the world. "What a strange life I lead," she once proclaimed, "a kind of Cinderella life, half glitter and crystal shoes, half mice and cinders. But it is a wonderful life, all the same." Which brings me back to gratitude on this Sunday before Thanksgiving 2020. And if you have not heard, 2020 is the new swear word, as in, what the 2020 was that? But Thanksgiving 2020. There is much for which we may be grateful, much more than we worried might be the case in the first part of this month. But there is much, too, about which to worry, about which to feel sad, about which to mourn. This country is hugely divided and deeply emotional in its divisions. We have lost many people to COVID, have experienced financial distress, many of us, as a result of COVID, and have experienced stress, isolation, and loneliness, again, as a result of COVID and more. Many of us will be unable to gather with our families for Thanksgiving and Christmas because of the pandemic, and also because families, too, are divided in their political and cultural differences. And those divisions are powerfully felt, so powerfully felt that it is hard to discuss them in order to begin to move beyond them. Helen Keller said, "The marvelous richness of human experience would lose something of rewarding joy if there were no limitations to overcome. The hilltop hour would not be half so wonderful if there were no dark valleys to traverse." That's the kind of sentiment that can make me a bit cynical at times, like the idea that you wouldn't enjoy the warmth and beauty of spring without the cold darkness of winter. But in fact, as is true of much about which I can sometimes feel cynical, there is some truth to it. When does a tall glass of iced tea taste better than when one is really thirsty? And do we ever enjoy a sunny day more than when it follows several days of cloudiness and rain? The difficulty for us this Thanksgiving is that we've had months and months, and yes, years of rainy, cloudy days, and the sun, while it is shining, is peeking through the clouds to do so. In other words, it's a time of very mixed blessings. So the effort must be in sorting through the mixture and taking note of the many things for which we can still be thankful. For me, that means I can be thankful that there are people I love with whom I could share Thanksgiving were we not in a pandemic. I am not alone in the world, even though I occasionally feel as though I am. It also means for me that I've had the freedom and resources to choose where I am in life. And though sometimes I dramatically put hand to forehead and say, why? Most of the time I'm content, as well as fortunate. It means for me that though I may occasionally become overwhelmed with the many challenges facing me and us, I will not likely get bored, and that is a good thing. And that I have options for how I might choose to help our hurting nation and world. Helen Keller wrote, "Believe when you are most unhappy that there is something for you to do in the world." And I am grateful that that is so. I am grateful that I am perhaps needed, that I can contribute to the good of the world or towards helping make the world good. I am grateful that even should I lose my health or my resources, I still can contribute to the world, even if it's nothing more than a smile I can offer up. And I can still contribute. We all can contribute, and I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful that I am supported in my contributions toward good by a church, this church, our church, which continually challenges my thinking, shapes my values, hones my love, and accompanies me on this journey through a complex, sometimes hard, almost always amazing world. Helen Keller inspired so many of us by overcoming such extraordinary personal challenges to thrive and believe and live her life to the fullest. She wrote, "Faith is the strength by which a shattered world shall merge into the light." And I have that faith. Even though I fret about the extent of our divisions, I have that faith that we can come together. We can merge into the light. And she wrote, everything has its wonders, even darkness and silence. And I learn whatever state I may be in, therein to be content. And I think that might be the philosophy to take with us into this holiday season. Amen. Now let us move into a time of meditation, reflection, and prayer. We have come through a hard time and yet have a hard way to go. Some of us are wounded in various ways to various extents for various reasons, and yet we have this community where we come together, not in person this year, but no less meaningfully. This community where we need not think alike to love alike, and where we love deeply. Let us take a moment to be in silence as we consider one another and as we contemplate the gratitude with which we share one another's lives, even at a distance. Amen. We are grateful to be a church of progressive ideals and reasoned thought in a culture and community of fundamentalist tradition and hardened dogma. We are grateful to be a church where one does not so much need to be saved as to be recognized as already safe, where one does not have to be born again, but whose birth and personhood is already celebrated. Let us be together in silence as we consider the gratitude we feel for our church and our tradition. Amen. We are a church in which we consistently urge one another forward in the ways of courage, integrity, strength, wisdom, and commitment, as well as service and love. Let us share a time of silence as we ponder our gratitude for that which we at our core are as a church, as a religious family, as Neshoba. Amen. May you find happiness this Thanksgiving, and until next week, blessed, blessed be.